Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Edward Amara. Welcome to the latest update on Africa, where we give you latest news on the development of the continent. We analyze their ramification, discuss issues that affect Africa, and we also try to find solutions. We all know Africa is a very controversial and unpredictable continent where of late everything has just been possible to being able to operate on the continent. It is unfortunate and quite amazing that after independence, since after independence, Africa has never been able to gain an uninterrupted political stability and strong economic development for even 10 good years. Africa have experienced war. A lot of countries have experienced coup d'etat. Civilians have been killed. We have seen in certain nations where women have been raped. Their personal rights have been violated. We have seen in certain countries where the very tenets of democracy that we think we should help protect have actually been violated. Because of that, our nations have been bastardized. Relegation have taken place in several economic status. Some countries are suffering from unpredictable political failures, and we have seen leaders who come and make a lot of empty, not frivolous promises and left. We have seen in certain countries where demonstrations have overtaken the country, where most of the time the victims are the commoners. We have seen in certain countries where exploitation is the order of the day. Africa is a few country where, or is one of the few continents on earth where law is definitely not seen as something that should be abided by. It is unfortunate and quite amazing that even our culture, our democracy that used to be thing of great, even prior to colonization, when you watch Africa during the pre-colonial system, was stable, was viable, was strong, was united. But Africa during the colonization period, Africa after colonization period have never experienced anything good. So welcome to this all-important news update discussion. Feel free to join the conversation by dropping your text message or your comment in the comment forum. Not only watching, you also need to make meaningful contribution towards the continent. Let's first start in Sudan. Ask. Sudan's political crisis grows from bad to worst. Those who are having the financial means are fleeing the country. War crime suspects or suspects are being freed. I said it in one of my programs here and giving the latest update of Sudan, that the current political crisis into Sudan between Al-Burhan and Dagalo will give rise to a lot of prison breaks, and that will lead to the emancipation or personal granting of freedom of people who are serving war crimes or prison times for war crimes, or those who are even on the indictment list for work for the ICC. Today, or on Tuesday, the Kuba prison in Khartoum was attacked, and prisoners were free. Among those prisoners that set themselves free, but allegedly the Rapid Support Forces, of course, we they have vehemently denied, while the government is robustly claiming that it is them who assaulted the prison and set free the prisoners. And some people who are on crime on the ICC indictment list are even serving corruption prison time for corruption, and also are under indictment for the killing of people in Darfur in 2013 and 2011. Like Ahmed Hauna was the interior minister under al-Bashir. And it is alleged that since the start of the war on the 15th of April 2023, over 2,000 prisoners have been set free. They are dangerously wandering on the street of Sudan. And Haruna went as far as saying he has actually been set free, or he set himself free, because on a daily basis, people were dying into the prison, they lack water, and people were dying of starvation, tortured. So they were left with no option rather than to free themselves. And he and the chunk numbers of other political detainees who are actually political detainees in the prison into alleged crimes committed to present themselves to a court, a law-abiding court, not a kangaroo court, where they will. We are afraid because that will never come to pass. We all know how worst situation like this can generate tensions. And these are political prisoners. They are dangerous. Some of them are serving prison for alleged genocide committed in Darfur by the like of Ahmed Haouna. So over 2,000 prisoners have actually been set free into the Sudan, Southern Sudan. Northern Sudan. And what people who are actually serving prison time for corruption and waiting trials from the ICC or in the ICC indictment list have also been freed. And the Koba prison is where al-Bashir was also under detention. But according to sources, al-Bashir is under police custody and admitted in a hospital in Khartoum, in a military hospital in Khartoum, because he is actually suffering, the 79 years old is suffering from an ailment. Critics and the cons of Al-Buham are claiming that he has the intention to reinstall al-Bashir into power, while the dude is vehemently denying such allegation. But the country is in a total chaotic situation. A 72 hours peace agreement was reached 3 days ago, which automatically expired yesterday. And even though 72 hours peace agreement was reached, yet there were sporadic fighting in Khartoum. And such sporadic fighting was extended as far as the region of Darfur. International bodies are also interested into it. AU is condemning, ECOWAS is condemning, the UN is condemning, EU is condemning, but almost every nation is not willing to solve the problem, the crisis into Sudan. Rather, they are only busy evacuating their citizens because of the pending danger. Now, even around 1,300 civilians fled Sudan and arrived in Saudi Arabia yesterday. People are being starved or they are starving. There are certain places where there is no water, and people are even running out of cash, and they don't want to do any electronic transaction because they are not sure of getting their money in physical cash. So the little liquid money with them is definitely running. And some shops are running out of food. Why? Most of the shops in Khartoum have been looted by both the Al-Burhan forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Of course, both are denying. There are certain areas there is no drinking water, there is no light, there is no internet network. So on a daily basis, the Sudanese political crisis is growing from bad to worse, and those who have the power are definitely fleeing the country. War crime suspects are being free, and there is even danger that al-Bashir may also be set free under this smoke, because he's under a military protection in a military hospital, and the Rapid Support Forces are fighting against the Al-Buham forces. So the military hospital is also a designated area of attack. And it may have arms and ammunition, including medical stuffs, which all the forces are interested in. So a possibility of that hospital being attacked and raided, while al-Bashir may find his way out of that particular chaotic situation, is so high. Civilians are being killed, and a lot of things are actually going on into the Sudan. The world is not interested actually in coming with or an everlasting peace into the Sudan. Rather, every citizen now interested in evacuating their citizen, because those two ball-headed or balloon-headed generals are not interested in making peace. Everybody wants to install themselves into power. And they are claiming that they will support a civilian government that will come into power, but they want to head the military. Then why are they fighting to head the military? It is because to raid that particular civilian government or bring them to down at any time they want and take over the governance of the system. Is a shame. Our African democracy is shambles. It's a disgrace. It's assault. And Sudan is definitely not living up to expectation. These are the things that we are extremely unhappy about. The continent is deteriorating. There is crisis on a daily basis. People are being killed. There is nothing good on the continent that Africans can be so proud of. Even with our natural resources that we have, it lead to war, it lead to chaotic situation. So each area you see natural resources, the tendency for political crisis to happen there is so high. The tendency for war to happen there is so high. The tendency of having unscrupulous, ill-determined, and very unpatriotic leader will become so high. Exploitation will be the order of the day. So it's a sad news, and that is what is going on today into the Sudan. Political crisis is going from bad to worst. People who have the means are fleeing from the country. War crime suspects are freed. Prisoners, over 2,000 prisoners are definitely being released. And places like Ethiopia, places like Saudi Arabia, and other surroundings by the Sudan or neighbors of Sudan are receiving political or refugees on a daily basis. And the general, Ahmed Harun, said they were dying slowly in the Koba prison. There is no water, there is no food, there is no medication. They were dying from starvation, so they have to free themselves. And they want to fight against the common enemy, those who overthrew the Bashir regime in 2019 and got him in prison. He described them as unpatriotic, disloyal, embezzlers, and people who have the intention to mismanage the country because of tribal or ethnic mentality. He has vowed to stand by the Sudanese and ensure that they are exonerated. But how can an unscrupulous and unpatriotic citizen like that, who contributed to the massacre of people in Darfur in 2013, in 2003 and 2011, be so brave to come up with such policy statement? Africa, be on the watch. So let's go. Migrant bodies sink off Libya, killing 55 passengers. And it's 3 people were actually freed, including a Syrian baby. You see, not only in Africa, but when you watch it in the Middle East, it's unfortunate that people from Iraq, Syria, Iran, Jordan, and other places are fleeing from their country, even including Turkey. People are fleeing because they want to come into Western Europe. They have been suffering from either political or religious persecution. And they use places like Morocco to definitely escape. Places like Libya. So they are being used as an exit route. Their bodies were actually discovered, 55, only few of them were free. So all of that is telling us how Africa is badly situated, and almost everything happens on the continent, and they even use us as a means to get themselves into Europe. And our brothers are also using what they call in Sierra Leone their tempo run to see that they have the easiest opportunity into Europe. The Middle East, where you have dominated Arabs country or Muslim, let me just say Muslim states. I shouldn't say Arab or Muslim states. Then you have in North Africa where you have Muslim countries. You have in East Africa, where you have Muslim countries. Why? Almost everything is just happening. You can see most of the state where you have Muslim dominated is in a chaotic situation. This is the tendency of religious violence so high, ethnicity is so high, racial discrimination is so high. So Africa need to be very careful. Then let's come to the third story. South Africa not withdrawing from ICC. Cyril Ramaphosa said on Tuesday that on Monday, South Africa has the intention of withdrawing from the ICC. He accused them of prejudice, bias, and maybe treating Africa oddly, including some other states. He cited examples like the political crisis in Iraq, why George Bush and others were not indicted. You have other war crimes that are being committed. It is only Africans that the ICC fall on heavily to prosecute them. The ICC, South Africa being a signatory to the International Criminal Court of Justice, it is under a virtue of part obligation to arrest Vladimir Putin when he comes there for BRICS meeting. Cyril Ramaphosa and his government said no. But the government has denied that South Africa has planned to withdraw from the ICC. They have said the president's statement is regrettable and they have uttered a public apology. However, there are plans not to arrest Vladimir Putin in case he decides go in there to attend their BRICS meeting, where China, India, and few other Southern African countries are definitely involved. They like a radical person like Julius Malema has strongly standing by the government and said that should Julius Malema, Vladimir Putin come into South Africa, he will definitely welcome him from the airport in Pretoria and lead him to their conference, or he will see the person who will dare to come and touch or arrest the man. That is what he's claiming. So those things are not really good. Unfortunately, the presidency have said it is regrettable for the statement coming from the president that South Africa was actually planning to withdraw from the ICC. It has no intention and will never depart from the ICC. However, they are asking for African states to be treated fairly. We have seen the like of Chancellor serving prison time into the UK when he was being convicted in The Hague, Netherlands. So let's come to another story. Warning over malnourished children in Nigeria. In Manduguri City, Borno State, around 1,300 babies are actually taken in the IPF unit, deemed malnourished, and they are actually from political detention camps and opponents of the government, especially like Boko Haram. WHO is claiming that if care is not taken for absolute treatment to be meted out with this guy in terms of medication, more children are going to lose their life, and people are being detained and illegally treated into those camps. Those who have decided to give out on the mentality of Boko Haram have been detained in those camps, and those who are actually transforming are also part and parcel of those camps. But there is unfair treatment, and almost everything is just wrong into the camp. And children today now are definitely suffering from this for the sins of their parents. Some of them are dying slowly. Around 1,300 have been brought to the hospital, which is definitely coming like a breakout of malnourished into Borno State. That is the capital city is Maiduguri, and there is fear that incidents like that are meant to happen, and should they continue, it is definitely going to create further crisis. Then finally, more body discovered. Into around 90 bodies have actually been discovered in the forest in Kenya. The Good News Church, where the pastor, who is well known by the police and the locals, ordered his followers to starve themselves to death in order for them to meet their maker. He claims that will be the easiest way for them to meet Jesus Christ so fast, and they will receive salvation. Poverty, ignorance, and illiteracy is almost consuming our people. That is why even the Bible says, my people are dying because of lack of knowledge. And since people are not well au fait with the Bible, some scrupulous people will just come and teach them. Maybe they could be au fait with the Bible, but because of strong poverty, they tend to do anything for their survival. We are also suffering from that. It is only because of poverty almost everything happens. So when you are poor, there is a saying into my own Kisi language that when the money man laughs, everybody laughs. Whatsoever thing that comes out from the mouth of the money man is funny. When he's happy, everybody becomes unhappy. The day he's in the bad mood, everybody becomes bad. When he's happy, everybody will definitely become happy. So poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance are now using our pastors to maybe preach salvation messages. It's actually good. Some of them are even exploiting Christians. They will ask you to give certain amount of money so that you can sow seed. When you sow seed, you will receive more. And those money, you are seeing pastors who are absolutely rich today. They unscrupulously get this money from their followers because of the salvation message that they have been preaching over the years. I think it is high time a renaissance into our religious faith is definitely done. And maybe some pastors need to be brought to book, explain for their words. There was a time that a young man in Nigeria burned down the church totally because he said the church was responsible for his poverty. Throughout the years, he has been there listening to the gospels of the pastor, telling him how rich he will become if he continues sowing seed. The young man kept sowing seed. Every day he comes to church, he sows seed, pays tithes, at the detriment of his own living situation. Over 10 or 15 years, he was giving tithe, his condition could not change. And the pastor's life changes automatically. So the young man became aggrieved and retaliated by burning down the church. If the church were not there, exploitation wouldn't have happened. And people wouldn't have been given the pastor money the pastor collect money from them unscrupulously, with the knowledge that that money will be used scrupulously. Unfortunately, when the young man could not, it's a life story, when the young man could not succeed, that was definitely his retaliation. So let's be very careful. Maybe our politicians will also do some investigation into these churches and learn the type of messages that are coming. I think it was in Nigeria when pastors were being warned not to preach any political message during the time of campaign. And it was fine. In Ghana, pastors were definitely warned when the new year was reaching that they should stop preaching message that's neither danger. Any pastor who was caught preaching, because normally they have those prophecies. Next year, a thing of things like this will befall Ghana. Next year, we are expecting starvation. We are expecting violence. We are expecting... These predictions are so wrong. We are even expecting political chaos. This election, we are expecting it to be tough. So all of those things are there. I think our men of God need to be very careful. Thank you for listening. It's been me, Edward Amara, Focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest news on Africa. The major headlines are as Sudanese political crisis grows from bad to worst, those who have the means are fleeing the country, and war crime suspects are being freed into the capital city, Khartoum. Around 1,300 children are suffering from malnourished or are being malnourished in places like Manduguri. Then around 55 migrants have been killed on the coast of Libya. Then more bodies have been discovered into a church or into the forest on the order of a pastor who ordered his members to starve themselves to death in order for them to meet their maker, Allah, Jesus Christ, where they will definitely gain salvation. Thank you for listening. It's been me, Edward Amara. Join me tomorrow for another breaking news on the continent. Good night. And my warning to Arsenal, those who are so, I think I know some fans of Arsenal like living in this, maybe I don't know, they like living in a kind of like to fantasize situation. I am not an Arsenal fan, definitely I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm not happy that Arsenal is definitely going to maybe lose tonight's match, because maybe it was prophesied that Arsenal we lost the Premier League on Wednesday, the 26th of April 2023. Because should they lose this game, Arsenal is definitely going to blow away their chances. And we are seeing some of our Premier League stars, Africans maybe, are also being involved into the match, although they are not Africans based on their current status, but in colors, they are definitely Africans. I think this is also very unfortunate for Africa. We feel so proud. Even me, I'm guilty of that, going to all the European leagues instead of our local leagues. One, they are not they are not properly publicized. We do not even have a game can be playing in return. I cannot see it. Even when you click on Facebook, very difficult to come out. So maybe we have talent on the continent. Most of our brothers and sisters are playing in the European continent. It is because there is availability of talent on the continent, but the capacity, the ability for me, the government willingness to, or our government willingness to actually build sporting talent in the continent is so poor. That is why most talent are leaving the continent, maybe to play football into Europe. So we have seen uh, African players who are playing top football into Europe. And when they come on the continent to play for us, if they get injury, uh, you may see that they wouldn't further their career with only Africa as a sports arena. Of course, Jeremy say we need to invest in our leagues from the private sectors. Absolutely. Government cannot invest in these leagues because they are not really, maybe they have barrage of problems to solve. But we as Africans need to have standardized league. We have to we because when you watch in Europe, most of these good, maybe most admirable players in Premier League, in La Liga, League One, Serie A, Budos leagues, are Africans. But they can definitely not strive on the continent to play fantastic football, especially like in West Africa. Maybe we have strong leagues, maybe Premier League like the Ghanaians Premier Leagues. Some are good. You talk about maybe Nigeria, also good. You can see them on their televisions. But for other countries, you hardly even spot them. Of course, like South Africa, their Premier League, just the Abbas Premier League is very good. But how many Africans are actually doing that? So all of this situation is encouraging our brothers to definitely leave the continent. That is why we are not even enjoying our own talents. And at the end of the day, Africans are being discriminated into these European leagues. Some of them, in fact, when they perform good today, they are being praised. Each time they perform badly or there is misfortune, in fact, you do not expect a soccer person to be 100% excellent in all games. You see them discriminating, they will end up to throw bananas at them. Insult. Had they been on the continent, nobody does that. But as long as they are in Europe, they can do anything. And little fines can take away their money. We have a lot like Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, Michael Essien, Nwankwo Kanu. You think about Yaya Toure, you think about Kolo Toure, you see Sadio Mane. We have a lot of Pupa Alaji Diop, a lot of others. So even the like of Zinedine Zidane, he's an African. You see, even Karim Benzema, related to Africa, although he's a Frenchman. So we are seeing, look at the like of Bappe making names. A Cameroonian. You see like Pogba, Paul Pogba is a Guinean. Look at Golo Kante, a Malian. Patrick Evra was actually from Quebec. You watch the like of Claude Makalele, he's actually another Congolese. Even the like of Busingwa, who was actually playing for Chelsea, Busingwa was also an African. So we are seeing Africa has a lot of talent, but we are misusing everything that we are having. Somebody saying, okay, Jeremy is saying, what are our wealthiest people doing with their wealth? They're only keeping it in banks, brothers. That is the problem. Maybe they are investing into other European countries, but they can come and open private leagues here. Maybe have a team where they can sponsor and make our football to be reality and fantastic. Maybe they have some of them are not realist, they are idealists. And if an idealist become a realist, he can put it into something that is so pragmatic. We have with a lot of wealthy Africans, maybe if government can forget about controlling maybe football and it is devolved to the private sector, I think all our young talent can definitely be utilized. And there is no strong football academy into Africa. Even when these leagues are playing, you do not have the opportunity to observe them. So this is why each time we hear, oh, Premier League, all of us are running to the screen. Maybe if you have a television, just put it on your screen, you try to watch, you get into the cinema. You go and see us today again. How we gather into those cinema or just to watch European leagues. When our Premier League is going on, you hardly go there. In fact, even when you want to watch the league, you do not have the opportunity. What we'll do, we take what they call FM, frequency modulator, put those radio, we'll start to listen to them because you are not seeing. Sometimes when you see these leagues, you become captivated. But we only hear the audio, maybe the voice of you only even listen to the commentators. Well, maybe what the commentator may be even doing could be actually be contrary to, but we do not have those opportunities. So this is why. How many television stations do we have? Most of them are FM, frequency moderators. The most popular media that we have on the continent is Facebook, being owned by American. How many? So all of these things are there. Africans, maybe they are gifted in technology, but what are they doing? So all of these things is a pretty sad thing that we are going through. And we are definitely not happy as a continent. We are feeling the pain. We are disturbed, especially for we the young people. We are not employed. And it is because of this lack of employment that today we are seeing our brothers and sisters are dying on the high seas in the Mediterranean. Some of us who are beyond, the best job that we can only do is to start doing voluntary teaching. Of course, immediately leave from college, that could be the best thing. Somebody will even tell you, as long as you're educated, you can gain self-employment. Fantastic, good thing. But self-employment must start with something. The society must support you. But it's so difficult here. It's so difficult. I am not a pessimist. I am an optimist. My optimism kept me the way I'm going today. But I'm telling you for sure, those of you who are watching me, when you are here, it is really difficult. Really, really difficult. In fact, even for you to become educated here, you have to go the hard way. Almost everything is being marketed. Teachers are not being paid. Schools are definitely not ideal. There is no playing ground. In fact, in education, I normally tell people we have 3 domains of education. You have the cognitive domains, the brain. Maybe you have the affective domain, the character. Then you have the psychomotor domain. It tells you about the skills. But Africa is only dealing in most schools with the cognitive domain. The psychomotor domain is not being carefully nurtured. That is why you have seen a lot of talents into certain schools, but they die down. Of course, the affective domain. If you are not paying teacher, how do you expect that teacher to teach that your kid good morals? It will start to corrupt them from that. But if a teacher is being well paid, you learn these things. The affective domain talks about the characterization, the good characterization of or the good attribute of kids. But when these teachers are so poor, they become corrupt. And what they teach in school is corruption, full of practical. I am a teacher. I'm telling you practically about what goes on. So sometimes we find it very difficult how to survive. Find it very, very difficult how to survive. Our way of life, you can't be a volunteer. In fact, even into the school that we are a volunteer, the money that I receive at the end of the month is not up to $20. Then where do you expect? So sometimes you go the extra mile. You have to organize extra classes over extra classes. So on that backdrop, will you blame me if a teacher, or will you blame me or any other teacher not to be committed on his teaching job? What we normally end up to do is to organize extra classes. And that is the only means that you can realize maybe something like $10 or $15 in addition to that $20 that they are going to be paid. How much a bag of rice is being sold into Africa? I think the bag of rice for now in Sierra Leone is above $30, which is around 600 and something leones. So have you seen? So when you calculate all of those things, sometimes you find it very difficult. Should I go teach or not? But if you don't go again, where will you survive? Practically, there is nothing. So the situation is so sad. If your kids in Africa are definitely not receiving the type of education, it is because the government, our government themselves, or the government in Africa are not prioritizing education. Even the agrarian society that we are living in, how many investments are being done? Look at the sport arena. What is being done over there? So even when we think that Africa has the potential to grow, I am very pessimistic about that because the potential of Africa to grow depends on the human resources that we have today. But if our youth are not being adequately and efficiently trained in time of building a strong, reliable human resources for the future, how do you expect this country to change, this continent to change? You can't depend on the knowledge of the Westerners to keep building our continent. When they come, they exploit us. We need to have a practical thing. Our government and people who have wealth maybe need to change. Or maybe it is better we privatize our government. Good night.